Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. There are certain television moments that redefine our culture and stand out in history. The Apollo 11 moon landing, the 9/11 attacks, the O.J. Simpson slow speed chase, the final episode of MASH. People of a certain age can remember exactly where they were for each. Well, now there is another one to add to the list, the premiere show of this season's South Park and Comedy Central. If you haven't seen it already, you will. The ridicule of Donald Trump is already being described as the most courageous and daring FU to any president in U.S. history. Daily Beast headline, South Park exposes Trump's teeny tiny manhood in shocking premiere. Quote, South Park began its 27th season with multiple shots below the belt at President Donald Trump, showing off the president's teeny tiny penis in both animated and live action form. In a mock ad for Trump made by the South Park characters in the episode's final minutes, a live-action Trump was shown running through the desert, sweating and exhausted. Trump took off his clothes and laid down naked on the sand. The South Park premiere ended with a shot of Trump's penis growing erect but still small. A voiceover declared, Trump, his penis is teeny tiny, but his love for us is large. Earlier, the episode repeatedly showed cartoon Trump naked in bed with Satan. Trump was no longer portrayed by Mr. Garrison, but voiced and animated. Come on, Satan, you know you can't resist this, Trump said, pulling down the covers to expose himself. I can't even see anything because it's so small, Satan said. He looked away in disgust. The season 27 premiere, titled Sermon on the Mount, also mocked Donald Trump's tendency to sue anyone who criticizes him. In the premiere, Donald Trump sued the town of South Park for $5 billion after they criticized his presidency. It was a reference to Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against Paramount, CBS, and 60 Minutes filed in 2024. Much like Paramount, which controversially settled the lawsuit for $16 million, the South Park residents settled with Trump for $3.5 million. In reference to Trump's claims that Paramount CBS, on top of the lawsuit payout, agreed to make public service ads for Trump, South Park also agrees to make an ad for Trump. The ad the town produced features full frontal nudity, depicting Trump as even more bloated and flabby than in reality, and with a tiny, small penis. Very small. The 30-minute episode, which is actually 22 minutes without the commercials, is witty, fearless, and yes, shocking. Anybody who sees it, and trust me you will if you haven't already, will agree that it is one of the most audacious things ever broadcast on U.S. television, if only for how far it goes in ridiculing and brutalizing a sitting U.S. president. The fact that South Park, which is produced by Comedy Central, would put this together and air it now is stunning. Keep in mind, Comedy Central is owned by Paramount CBS. This is the same Paramount CBS that notified late-night host Stephen Colbert that next season would be his last, just days after Colbert accused Paramount CBS of giving Trump a big fat bribe. Colbert was speaking, of course, about Paramount CBS trying to complete a merger with Skydance. But the merger needs approval from the Trump administration. And thanks to the CBS payout and perhaps the firing of Stephen Colbert, the Skydance Paramount deal is getting approved. Relatedly, Comedy Central just agreed the other week to pay the producers of South Park $1.5 billion for 10 episodes in the show's 27th season. Apparently, once the check cleared, the showrunners took that money and made television history, hammering and ridiculing a sitting U.S. president in ways that have never been done before or even attempted in the annals of American entertainment history. For Donald Trump critics, which based on the polls now means about 63% of the American public, this South Park show will be the moment that the Trump resistance delivered its loudest and fiercest counterpunch ever. Yes, corporate media may be willing to settle with Trump and clip the wings of independent journalistic institutions like 60 Minutes, but at least some independent media creators, now including South Park, which gets paid by corporate media, those creators, those artists, are not going to back down. Instead, they are doubling down and using their platform to speak out. It is breathtaking. And over at the White House, we don't have to imagine the huffing and puffing in Trump world. Headline, Trump seething over South Park mockery on eve of Skydance Paramount deal closure. White House lashes out at desperate season 27 premiere. White House Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers told Deadline, quote, "This show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas in a desperate attempt for attention. President Trump has delivered on more promises in just 6 months than any other president in our country's history, and no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot streak." Hot is an interesting word choice given the heat on Donald Trump right now over the Jeffrey Epstein files. The Trump campaign promised to release those files, and now, in bearing the files, Trump is getting shredded by his own MAGA supporters. And even MAGA lawmakers are betraying Trump and joining Democrats.
Breaking news out of Congress. A spokesperson for the House Oversight Committee just told NBC News that it will subpoena the Justice Department for the full Epstein files. The announcement comes after Democrats on an oversight subcommittee successfully advanced the subpoena.
The move comes after 3 Republicans on the Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee joined Democrats in an 8-2 vote to approve the motion to compel the DOJ to release those files tied to Epstein.
This came against the Trump White House wishes, and Trump is exploding. Headline, Trump overheard vulgar Oval Office panic over Epstein. Quote, President Donald Trump is reportedly in full panic mode, using profanity during a heated Oval Office moment as pressure mounts over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, according to an inside source who spoke with Politico. "They're going to accuse me of some funny business," Trump reportedly said recently in the Oval Office, according to a Republican with close ties to the White House who personally heard the president's remarks. Clearly, Donald Trump is anxious and nervous. There are multiple reports that Trump is not just mentioned in the Epstein files, but pictured in some of them, allegedly with half-naked teenage girls. And with the mainstream media unable to resist the salaciousness, and MAGA world convinced the deep state engaged in a pedophilia ring that needs to be uncovered, the Jeffrey Epstein investigation is not going away. So the political walls are closing in on Donald Trump. And now, if Trump is seeking the safe harbor or refuge of watching television, he just got whacked and ridiculed on Comedy Central in historic fashion. This is a watershed moment in our culture and politics. The biggest viewing demographic for South Park? Young white men. The manosphere that propelled Donald Trump to election victory and remain his core bedrock supporters. Now, an entire generation of young men have been encouraged to treat Donald Trump as an ugly, impotent, and idiotic buffoon, to view Trump as a joke and a disgusting creature who should be despised. Many of us will always remember where we were on 9/11, or during O.J. Simpson's slow-speed chase, or during the final episode of MASH. I guarantee that we will all remember where we were and what it meant when we watched Comedy Central's South Park Sermon on the Mount. Just watch. By the way, Donald Trump's foolishness on trade just got exposed by an economist armed with basic facts about the deal with Japan.
Okay, so this is how you fool a president who doesn't understand economics into thinking he's won something. Remember, the tariff here is the tax that Trump imposes on Americans. He's reduced that tax from 25% in his threats to 15%, but actually that tax before Trump, way back in January, was about 2%. So what the biggest thing Trump has done is he's raised taxes on Americans who import goods from Japan from 2% to 15%.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular from John, who wrote, "When Trump is alone, he's not the smartest guy in the room." I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about South Park making television history at Donald Trump's expense. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.